Today I discuss about the Con- Connecticut Yankee um, in King Arthur's court. Is an 1889 novel by American humorist and writer Mark Twain. The book was originally titled A Yankee in King Arthur's Court. Some early editions are titled A Yankee at the Court of King Arthur. In the book, a Yankee engineer from Connecticut named Hank Morgan receives a severe blow to the head and is somehow transported in time and space to England during the reign of King Arthur. After some initial confusion and he is captured by one of Arthur's knights, Hank realizes that he is actually in the past and he uses his knowledge to make people believe uh, that he is a powerful magician. He became a rival of Merlin, who appears to be little more than a fraud and gains the trust of King Arthur. Hank attempts to modernize the past in order to make people's lives better. Hank is disgusted by how the Baron treat the commoners and tries to implement democratic reforms, but in the end he is unable to prevent the death of Arthur. Hank declares England a republic, but the Catholic Church, growing fearful of his power, issues an interdict against him. Twain wrote the book as a burlesque of romantic notions of mm, cavalry after being inspired by a dream in which he was a knight himself. Severely inconvenienced by the weight and cumbersome nature of his armor, it is a satire of feudalism and monarchy that also celebrates homespun ingenuity and democratic values while questioning the for-profit ideals of capitalism and outcomes of the industrial revolution. At one point, at one point in the book, Twain even defends the French Revolution. It is among several works by Twain and his contemporaries that mark the transition from Guild Age to the progressive era of socio-economic discourse. It is often cited as a formative example of the fleeting time travel genre. Now the plot is this article plot summary may be too long or excessively detailed. Okay, so the novel is a comedy set in 16th century England and its medieval culture through Hank Morgan's view. He is a 19th century resident of East um, 19th century um, East Hartford to Connecticut, who, after a blow to head, awakens to find himself inexplicably transported back in time to early medieval England, where he meets King Arthur himself. Hank, who had an image of the time that had been colored over the years by romantic means, takes on the task of analyzing the problems and sharing his knowledge from 1300 years in the future to try to modernize, Americanize, and improve the lives of people. Many passages are quoted directly from Sir Thomas Malory's L'Île Morte d'Arthur, a late medieval collection of Arthurian legends that constitutes one of the main sources of the myth of King Arthur and Camelot. The frame narrator is a 19th century man who meets Hank Morgan in modern times and begins reading Hank's book in the museum in which they both met. Later characters in the story retell parts of it in Mallory's original language. Okay, so a chapter on medieval hermits also draws from the work of William Edward. Okay, William Edward Hartpoli Lake. So, introduction to the stranger. The story begins at the first person narrative in Warwick Castle, where a man details his recollection of a tale told to him by an interesting stranger who is personified as a knight through his simple language and familiarity with ancient armor. After a brief tale of Sir Lancelot of Camelot and his role in saying two giants from the third person narrative. Then directly from Lee Marty the author, the man named Hank Morgan enters, and after being given whiskey by the narrator, he is persuaded to reveal more of his history. Described through first person narrative as a man familiar with the firearms and machinery trade, Hang is a man who had reached the level of superintendent because of his proficiency in firearms manufacturing with 2,000 subordinates. He describes the beginning of his tale by illustrating details of the disagreement with the subordinates during which he sustained a head injury from a cursor caused by a man named Hercules who used a crowbar. After passing out from the blow, Hank described walking up underneath a oak tree, having no idea how he got there. Hank soon encounters the knight Sarki riding by. Soki challenges him to a just which is quickly lost by the unweaponed, unarmed Hang as he scatters up a tree. He captures Hang and leads him towards Camelot Castle. Upon recognizing that he has time traveled to the 6th century, Hang realizes that he is the de facto smartest person on earth, and with his knowledge he should soon be running things. Hang is ridiculed at King Arthur's court for his strange appearance and sentenced by them, particularly the magician Merlin, to burn at the stake on 21st June. By a stroke of luck, the date of the burning coincide with the historical scholar eclipse in 528 of which Hang had learned in his earlier life. In his prison, he sends the boy whom he christens Clarence to inform the king that he will be blot out the sun if he is executed. Hang believes the current date to the 20th July, however, it is actually the 21st when he makes his threat the day that the eclipse will occur at 12 p.m. When the king decides to burn him, the eclipse catches Hang by surprise. However, he quickly uses it to his advantage and convinces the people that he caused the eclipse. He makes a bargain with the king, is released, and becomes the second most powerful person in the kingdom. So, Hang is given the position of principal minister of the king and is treated by all with the utmost fear and awe. His celebrating brings him to be known by a new title elected by the people, the boss. However, the proclaims that his only incomes will be taken as a percentage of an increase in the kingdom's gross national product, which he succeeded in creating for the state as Arthur's chief minister, which King Arthur sees as fair. Although the people fear him and he has his new title, Hank is still seen as somewhat of an equal. The people might grovel to him if he were a knight or some form of nobility, but Hank faces problems from time to time since he refuses to seek to join such ranks. The takeover part, that is the after being made the boss, Hang learns about medieval practices and superstitions. Having superior knowledge, he is able to outdo the alleged scorers and miracle working church officials. At one point, soon after the eclipse, people began gathering hoping to see Hank perform another miracle. Merlin, jealous of Hank having replaced him both as the king's principal advisor and as the most powerful sorcerer of the realm, being spreading rumors that Hank is a fake and cannot supply another miracle. Hank secretly manufactures gunpowder and a lightning rod, plants explosive charge in Merlin's tower, and places the lightning rod at the top and runs away to the explosion charge. He then announces that he will soon call down fire from heaven and destroy Merlin's tower, challenging Merlin to use his sorcery to prevent it. Of course, Merlin's incantations fail utterly to prevent lightning from striking the rod, triggering the explosion charges and leveling the tower, further diminish Merlin's reputation. Hank Morgan is his position as king's minister, use his authority and his modern knowledge to industrialize the country behind the back of the rest of the ruling class. His assistant is Clarence, a young boy he meets at court, whom he educates and gradually lets in on most of his secrets and eventually comes to rely on heavily. Hung sets up secret school which teach modern ideas and modern English, thereby removing the new generation from medieval concepts and secretly constructs hidden factories which produced modern tools and weapons. He carefully selects the individuals he allows to enter his factories and schools, seeking to select only the most promising and least indoctrinate in medieval ideas, fearing selection of the young and malleable whenever possible. As Hung gradually adjusts to his new situation, he began to attend medieval tournaments amidst understanding cause Sir Sagramori to challenge Hang to a duel to the death. So the combat will take place when Sargamore returns from his quest of the Holy Grail. Hung accepts and spends the next few years building up 19th century infrastructure behind the nobility's back. He then undertakes an adventure with an wandering girl named the Demoiselle Alicandi, La Cartilois, nicknamed Sandy, by Hangi's short order to give her loyal mistress being held captive, held by Auguries. On the way, Hang struggles with the inconvenience of plate armor, and encounters Morgan Le Fay. The princess Auguries and Castleys are all really revealed to be actually pigs owned by the present Swinehairs, but to Sandy they still appears as royalty. Hung by the pigs from the peasants, and the two live on the way back to Camelot. They find a traveling group of pilgrims headed for the Valley of Holiness. Another group of pilgrims, however, come from the direction and bears the knew that the knew that the valley's famous foundation has run dry. According to the legend, long ago the foundation had gone dry as soon as the monks of the valley monastery built a bath with it. The bath was destroyed and the water instantly returned, but this time it has stopped with no clear cause. Hang is begged to restore the fountain, although Merlin is already trying to do so. When Merlin fails, he claims that the foundation has been corrupted by a demon and that it will never flow again. Hank, to look good, agrees that a demon has corrupted the foundation but also claimed to be able to banish it. In reality, the foundation is simply leaking. He prosecutes assistance from Cam, Camelot training by himself, who bring along a pump and fireworks for special effects. They repair the foundation and hang beings the banishment of the demon. At the end of several long pursuit to Germanic magical phrases uh, code to his firework display, his pouts nonsense noise. Uh, sorry. Busy, but Martin agrees with Hang that it is the name of the demon. The foundation restorer Hang goes on the debunk another magician who claims to be able to tell what any person in the world is doing, including King Arthur. However, Hang knows via telephone that the king is riding out to see the restored foundation and not resting from the chase, as the false prophet had foretold to the people. Hang correctly states that the king will arrive in the valley. Hang has an idea to travel among the poor disguised as a peasant to find out how they truly live. King Arthur joins him but has extremely difficulty in acting like a peasant convincingly. Although Arthur is somewhat disillusioned about the national standard of life after hearing the story of the mother infected with smallpox, he still ends up getting hung and himself hunted down by the members of a village after making several extremely enormous remarks about agriculture. Although they are saved by a nobleman's encourage, the same nobleman later arrests them and sells them into slavery. Hung steals a piece of metal in London and uses it to create a makeshift lockpick. His plan is to free himself and the king, beat up their driver, and turn to Camelot. However, before he can free the king, a man enters their quarters in the dark, mistaking him for the slave driver. Hank rushes after him alone and starts a fight with him. They are both arrested. Hank lies his way about, but in his absence, the real slave driver has discovered Hank's escape. Since Hank was the most valuable slave, he was due to be sold the next day. The man becomes enraged and being beating his and other slave who fight back and kill them. All the slaves, including the king, will be hanged as soon as the missing one. Hang is found. Hang is captured, but he and Arthur are rescued by a party of knights led by Lancelot riding bicycle. Then the king became extremely bitter against slavery and vowed to abolish it when they get free. Much to Hank's delight, Sagra Mori returns from his quest and fights Hank, who defeats him and seven others, including Galad and Lancelot, using a lesson when Merlin still Hank's lesson. Sarga Mori returns to change him again. This time, Hank kills him with a revolver. He proceeds to change the Knights of Britain to attack him en masse, with which they do. After he kills 9 more knights with his revolvers, the rest break and flee. The next day, Hank reveals his 19th century infrastructure to the country. With the fact he was called a wizard since he told Clarence to do so as well. Then we come the interdict. And 3 years later, Hank has married Sandy, and they have a baby while asleep and dreaming. Hank say hello Central, reference to calling 19th century telephone operator, and Sandy believes the missed phrase to be the name of the former girlfriend or lover, and thus to please his name, please him names their child accordingly. However, the baby falls critically ill and Hank's doctors advise him to take his family overseas while the baby recovers. In reality, it is a plot by the Catholic Church to get Hank out of the country to leave it without effective leadership. During the weeks that Hank is absent, Arthur discovers Guinevere's infidelity with Lancelot that caused a war between Lancelot and Arthur, who is eventually killed by Sir Mordred. The church then places the land under interdict, causing all people to break away from Hank and revolt. Hank sees that something is wrong by the lack of trade in the English Channel and returns to Britain to meet with his good friend Clarence, who informs him of the war thus far. As time goes on, Clarence gathers 52 young cadets aged from 14 to 17 who are to fight against all of Britain. Hank's band fortifies itself in Marlin's cave with a minefield, electric wire, and Gatling guns. The church sends an army of 30,000 knights to attack them, but they are slaughtered by the cats wielding Hank's modern weaponry. However, Hank's men are now trapped in the cave by a wall of dead bodies and sieged by a miasma bred by a thousand of corpses. The Hank attempts to go offer aid to any wounded bodies stabbed by fast wounded man who he tries to help Sarah Millie agrees he is not seriously injured by but he is bedridden. Disease begins to set in. One night, Clarence finds Merlin waves a spell over Hank, proclaiming that he will sleep for 1,300 years. Merlin begins laughing deliriously, but ends up electrocuting himself on one of the electric wire. Clarence and the other all apparently die from disease in the cave. More than a million later, the narrator finishes the manuscript and finds Hank on his deathbed and dreaming about Sandy. He attempts to make one last effect but dies before he can finish it. So that's all about the novel of the no, all about the novel of Mark Twain's The Connecticut Yankee is in King Arthur's Court.